Curious about the cost of living for a family of 3 living here in Ecuador? Well, I've got you covered, so stay tuned as I share the breakdown of what it costs for my family to live here in Quito, Ecuador. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, my name is Jazzy and my family and I have been here in Ecuador for almost 3 years. I first arrived to Ecuador, I was pregnant, and yes, it's safe to say that our expenses have indeed fluctuated, but I'm gonna break all of that down, so don't you worry. And if you're interested in learning more about my family, I'll leave some more information down in the description box below. And one more thing before we start, I have to say this just to clear up any confusion. The currency in Ecuador is in fact the US dollar. So US bills are in fact used here along with country issued centavo coins. So let's dive into the first, probably biggest expense that you are going to have, the most important thing that everyone asks me about, and that is housing costs. With this particular video and this particular section, I'm gonna be as transparent as possible because I think it's important to have an idea of what housing and other expenses look like for my family in our particular circumstance. We're actually in Ecuador with the State Department, so a portion of my husband's benefits go towards housing costs. Basically, we don't pay anything for housing and it is such a blessing. Take a look down in the description box below for all the resources I have about working and employment abroad and my personal recommendations for jobs that would serve you very well if you are deciding to move abroad, because I believe if you can get a company to sponsor you or aid with your benefits in housing or transportation, you're going to be in a better financial situation, not just currently, but in the long run, because you will be able to save more money. For us, we don't pay anything for housing, which means we're able to save on that very expensive cost. And I want to say that here in Ecuador, housing costs, I think, are pretty affordable compared to different states in the United States. So I believe that that is one of the biggest draws to Ecuador for expats that maybe aren't necessarily tied to a job or who are looking to retire. Low cost of living, especially in terms of housing, is very attractive. According to internationalliving.com, a couple can live in Ecuador comfortably for about $23,000 per year. Imagine taking all of that and then bringing it to a wonderful country like this and really getting to make the most of your money, making it stretch a lot farther. Those expenses can include renting a nice apartment in a major city like Quito, eating out frequently at good restaurants, having access to high quality healthcare, maybe hiring a cleaning service weekly, or some people do that every day. It just depends on your needs, as well as owning a vehicle, which we own our vehicle, but I will say this, it is not necessary to own a vehicle, especially if you live in a big city like Quito. You can get around with rideshare services and things like that pretty easily. So let's talk rental costs. A modest 2-bedroom apartment can be found for as little as $300 per month, and a luxury duplex penthouse in prime city neighborhoods can go up to about $1,300 per month. Now, country specific, let's talk about Cuenca. Cuenca is a city that is popular among retirees, and you can rent a modern 2-bedroom apartment with a terrace and a mountain view for around $750 per month. That includes internet and utilities. Now in Quito, get this, a 3-bedroom furnished apartment in the heart of the capital costs about $800 per month. High-end neighborhoods like Cumbaya or Quito Tenes offer luxury living for about $2,000 a month. To be honest with you, I feel like that is a fraction of the cost for a lot of major cities in the United States. I've had a couple of people ask me about the more rural areas like Cotacachi. Let's talk about what living in a place like that would cost. A modest house in Vilcabamba with land might cost you around $500 to $600 per month, and a comfortable 1-bed furnished apartment in Cotacachi's historic center is around $400 per month. I hope I covered everything you want to know about housing. I'm going to put some of the links to the references I used in this video down in the description box below so you can read a little bit further. And I'll also put the link to my blog post that'll give you all the information I discussed in this video. Let's talk about my favorite section, which is groceries and food. Groceries and food expenses are in fact cheaper here in Quito and Ecuador as a whole than they ever would be in the United States. Inflation has hit everywhere. I'm seeing prices of things that I purchased 2.5 years ago go up significantly, and our bills have definitely gone up. But you know, when you are making what you are making, if you're comfortable with your expenses, it's okay. You just kind of budget those things in and maybe take away in some other areas of your spending. For groceries, we spend about $600 to $800 per month, and that includes a lot of random miscellaneous things that come about, which I will discuss in some future points. I believe that grocery shopping in Ecuador, especially Quito where I live, can provide you with a ton of different options. In rural areas, you can take advantage of smaller shops and local vendors, and I would say that even in bigger cities, those are options too, and they depend on the type of neighborhood you live in. You want to do some digging and search for those more local shops and vendors. But in the bigger cities, like the main parts of Quito, you're gonna find your regular grocery stores, your supermarkets, your big box stores, and traditional types of shops you're gonna find all around the world. My family and I, we do a traditional grocery run about every 2 weeks, and I would say that we spend about $200 to roughly $300 every 2 weeks, and it just depends on what we need to get. And usually for those bi-weekly shops, we're getting essentials as well as fruits and vegetables and things to make for dinner, you know, just the typical grocery items that any family of 3 needs to get to, you know, sustain themselves for a couple of weeks. Then we have our other weekly shop, which is usually a grocery delivery, because I can't be bothered with going to the grocery store with a toddler as much as we need to. So grocery delivery services have been lifesavers. So with my grocery delivery on the off weeks, I'll typically replenish our fruit stashes and get some like snacks if we need them, and maybe ingredients for a dinner or two. It's really very minimal. We'll typically spend about $30 to $100 every other week, just depending on what we need, or if we're hosting, or if I'm making a video that includes cooking or something like that. Now, in terms of ordering out, those delivery services that deliver groceries also deliver your regular food as well. So you have your chain restaurants, your local restaurants, your carts and stalls and different things like that on those apps as well. And we typically will order out maybe once a week when it's my husband and we call it like our Friday fun meal. If I don't feel like cooking, usually I like to cook. I'm a big foodie person who actually likes to cook. So if I'm not making wings on Fridays or like a burger with fries on a Friday, then we're ordering out from some of our very favorite restaurants here in Quito. And we have a good list of places that we like now, but we'll do that at least on a Friday. And then my husband, he likes his outside food, so he will typically order a couple of more meals during the weekend. And I would say that a meal for 2 people would range from $25 to $45. It just depends. We try to eat more local to keep costs down, but if we want to splurge, or if it's a holiday or something, then we might get something from a restaurant that we really want to eat at that has a little bit of higher prices. And some of the local restaurants, some of the fusion local restaurants are expensive too. So we just kind of pick and choose. We try not to do something extravagant every Friday, but yeah, the costs do add up. And then if my husband is eating a couple times throughout a weekend, then it might range from like $10 to $20, again, depending on where you're ordering from. And then he has his costs for lunch throughout the week. So let's just range it up to $5, because that could include getting a drink, maybe some sides, the main meal, and some snacks during the day. For me, I try to keep our overall food costs low by baking as much as I can and making our snacks. That's been a new thing that I've been doing within the last couple of months, and it does save a lot of money because snacks are expensive. I have just really preferred to make them myself, and I know what ingredients are in them, and you know, buying the raw ingredients for these different dishes definitely saves us a good amount of money. Now on to transportation. We spend about $50 a month on transportation. That can include Ubers from time to time, but mostly gas, because we do in fact have a car. We have a Nissan SUV. So being a 1-car household does in fact save us money, which is great. And gas prices here are are not very high, which is fantastic. My husband just filled up our gas tank and he said that he spent about $26, and that the gas price for extra, which is I think equivalent to unleaded in the US, was about $2.37. So not bad at all, especially when you are putting gas in your tank every like 2 weeks, maybe stretching it 2.5 weeks, and that is fantastic for us. Education. So we spend $0 on education, and you kind of see where the give and take comes with our budget, because if we're spending $0 here, then we're able to do a little bit more here, or again, add to investments for our future. So us spending $0 on education means that we are saving a good amount of money. I would say that putting your child in a daycare setting is still very inexpensive. The range is about $250 to about $400 on the high-ish end, and that's still not bad compared to, again, what people are spending for childcare in the United States. The higher price range is going to lead you to maybe the international school price tag for daycare. And for my family, I am in fact a stay-at-home mom. I'm a working stay-at-home mom. I really do try and devote my time to my son when he is up and about and awake, to making sure that we are doing educational activities, going outside as much as we can, and going to the park and all of those things. So yes, being a stay-at-home mom does in fact save my family a good amount of money that we would be spending on childcare. Let's talk healthcare. So my husband gets about $170 taken out of his paycheck every 2 weeks. So that's about $360 per month that we pay for health and dental insurance. And what we love about health and dental insurance abroad is if we go to a provider here locally, we can submit our receipts to our insurance and have them cover what they cover, and we pay whatever the rest is, if that's a deductible or extra fees. And that also works with therapy, which we are also in. I have therapy in about 30 minutes. If you haven't seen my therapy abroad for expats video, definitely take a look at that. I'll put it in the description box below. But it is great because I can do therapy everywhere I travel to, and it is with somebody who typically knows what I'm going through as an expat, as a trailing spouse, as a mom, you know, all the different nuances that come with living abroad. What's great about our costs for therapy is that it's usually $250 or so a month, but with our insurance and getting to submit our claims to our insurance, we really only pay about $30 per session, which I think is a great deal. And if you are able to access therapy, I highly recommend that you do it. There's no shame in the game of doing it and being mentally healthy. So that is something that I pride myself on, is getting myself together so that I am healthy, happy, and whole for myself and for my family. So that is healthcare for us in a nutshell. It's not really a big section, but I am grateful that we are able to go about it this way. In terms of utility, they are covered with our housing costs, so that is a $0 for us. But most places, from what I've researched, the utilities are in fact covered with rent. And I think that is a fantastic deal. You just pay it all at one time and you don't have to worry. When it comes to internet, however, we do in fact pay for internet separately from everything, and that's close to $30 a month, which I think is also a really great deal, especially for how much we use the internet, how many videos I'm uploading per month. It is an extravagant amount, okay? So internet is very important to have here, and it's great. I would say internet works for the most part very fast and very good. Entertainment and leisure for us, we are primarily homebodies, especially my husband. Like, he loves his Netflix and his streaming services, and when you pay a pretty penny for them, you're most likely to watch it because you're gonna get your money's worth. So we spend about $100 on average for streaming services for our entertainment and leisure time, and that includes Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon. We did have Hulu, but we don't have Hulu anymore. It works very funny abroad. We also have NBA League Pass for the playoffs, Masterclass, and Spotify. I think that's everything. But we don't have cable, and so those are our forms of entertainment. And again, with the internet, you know, you can use YouTube and all these different other social platforms that give you entertainment. We don't necessarily have to spend a large amount of money on our streaming services, but I would say that that is a pretty large part of our expenses monthly. For our toddler, here are the sort of additional expenses that I was talking about earlier in this video. Sometimes we buy diapers and wipes and things with our groceries, but usually we like to just shop for those on Amazon. My husband and I are able to shop on Amazon and select different stores from the US and have those items shipped to his employer, and the employer takes care of all of that stuff and then ships it to us. And so that's really handy. There are in fact forwarding services for expats who are not affiliated with an organization abroad, and that's a great way for people to get, you know, US based products, Canadian based products, if that's how that works over there, to you in your adoptive country. And it's handy, especially if you need slices of home here and there. But in terms of diapers, it just helps because we are then able to get a bulk box of diapers maybe every 3 months or so, and then our bulk box of wipes every 3 months or so. And it's just really handy, and I think that saves us a lot of money because in my opinion, I find that baby care, toddler care items like those are either the same price or more quality wise and things like that. I do notice some differences here and there. However, the local options are still wonderful options, especially if they're diapers and all we're using them for is pee and poop. Sometimes we'll spend a range of $50 to $100 a month on extra services like dry cleaning. I will have a cleaning service come in bi-weekly, which is about $25 for a couple of hours of cleaning, which I think is fantastic. I wish I would have done this a long time ago. It's definitely new in our routine, but it's very helpful. We also might get some snacks from my husband's employer. We have like American snacks and things where he works, and that's always fun, but those prices are very expensive. So it is important that we include those in this miscellaneous section, because sometimes you can just go and like pick things up and not realize how much you spent. Dry cleaning is also a part of that too. And I would say that this miscellaneous section is a part of this employee association cost that my husband has. He pays to be a part of the employee association, which then allows him to book services like cleaning, dry cleaning, the extra snacks, and things here and there. Clothing and extras. I might go shopping every like 6 months or so, but those are clothes and items that are going to last me for a long time. I try to get quality versus quantity when it comes to my clothes because I just don't like to shop that much. Honestly speaking, I don't love going to the malls as much as probably your average lady would. It's just not that fun to me. It's just, I don't love spending money. I like to save my money if I can. Extra services can also include occasionally if we are talking about business expenses, but I'm not going to include those in our household expenses because business expenses are separate. But I do have business expenses to help run this whole entire ship. So that's something to be aware of too. So that is it. I probably spilled all of our secrets in this video. This is one of my most vulnerable videos that I've ever done because we're going into the nitty-gritty and the ins and outs of our finances, and that can feel scary. But we're not really afraid of finances. I feel like we do a pretty good job at budgeting. And again, not having certain expenses in certain categories allows us to do more in other categories, and of course travel and save and invest in all of those things. So if you are interested in learning more about how we manage money, how we invest, and all of those things, I will ask my husband because he loves talking about investing. I like talking about money, I like talking about savings, but my husband loves a good investment conversation. So let me know if we can get this video to a lot more likes than normal and comments. I will let him know, because you know, we have to incentivize him. And if you want to see more vulnerability from me, definitely check out the description box below for links to a bunch of other wonderful content, resources, guides, freebies, all of that stuff. And check out this video here if you want to learn more about our family and some of the fun vacations that we have been on recently.